fast forward to 2024. I know you guys recently joined the Ascend platform. Uh, Congratulations, exciting opportunity for you and the team.
Yeah, we're pumped about this. This was certainly very unique and not something that was planned
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination. I had actually met um, some of the members from the Ascend team at Winning Ways
Okay.
a little over 2 years ago, and they were kind of thinking about what they were going to do in this space. And we just talked. I mean, it was just a very open conversation like this. I've always been very much so an open book. I feel like that's something that's been really cool about the CPA community these last couple of years
Yeah.
is that we share things amongst one another. We try to make the profession better together. And spent a lot of time with them, kind of sharing some of my thoughts and opinions on what we needed to do in this profession. They came back to me a few months later and said, "We really want you to be a part of this." And I said, "Well, that wasn't on my radar. This is not something that I had planned. This is not something, I was still kind of going that normal, stay fiercely independent kind of route. And I had tried to
Yeah.
merge with other firms and I didn't like what that was leading me into. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I still wanted that independence. The difference between me and most other people that are running accounting firms is that I've always been an entrepreneur. Like I've never
Yeah.
really been an employee, so to speak. I've always put a lot of bets on myself and I've been comfortable with that level of risk. So, that's where I fell short when I tried to merge with other firms, is, merge up into a larger firm, was that I didn't feel that I was going to have that entrepreneurial support, that I
Yeah.
was going to be able to grow the business the way that I wanted to, and to try new things and to fail and to learn from those failures and to get better and to, do the things that you need to do to grow. But the Ascend platform is built for that. I mean, it's built for entrepreneurial CPAs. Um, it's remarkable. We got to get together in San Antonio in January with the other firms that are on the platform, and like I've never really been around a group of quote unquote my people. You know what I mean? I've never been around that group of people that are entrepreneurial CPAs. I always kind of stuck out a little bit in our market because everybody else is employees.
Yeah.
All the other partners at most of your large regional size CPA firms they've always been an employee, right? They started as a staff accountant, they worked their way up in their firm. They're not trained to be entrepreneurs. They're trained to be accountants. They're trained to
Yep.
be partners in a large regional size, whatever CPA firm. So it was really nice to be around, a group of my peers and be supported by a platform that is excited about empowering entrepreneurial CPAs rather than just saying, here's the box, play in that box, and that's what you get. So it's been fun so far.
And I know you're only 3 months in at this point, and maybe as people are thinking about the same conversation, we know it's a very predominant one right now. We know there's different models out there when it comes to private equity roll-ups versus platforms. We're very much part of this kind of roll-up as part of Ascend. I think they're up to about 200 million in cash flow today. In terms of I think 15 plus firms across the United States. Are there specific things if individuals or firm leaders are thinking about this as an opportunity for them that you can give some advice or input to? I know you're only a couple months in. I know you got a chance to get together with many of the other firm owners and go through the boot camp process that Ascend lends it to. But thinking about some of the levers that you're able to now pull in terms of culture, in terms of people and talent, and going deeper with services, you have some horsepower behind you in a way that you may not have had before, but still allowing yourself to be independent. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so a couple of things on that front is we're officially, we've been part of Ascend since January. We're a few months in, but I have been working on this and very included in the process with them for almost 2 years now.
Okay.
So I feel super comfortable with where we're going and what has been built thus far. Ultimately for me, there's two very different types of private equity transactions, in my opinion. There's a bailout, right? There's a bailout situation for those firms that just failed on succession planning. They
It's
didn't.
broken.
The model is broken. They couldn't get there. They couldn't fix it. They needed an out. right? So there are private equity transactions that support that. Um, and then there are private equity transactions that support ultimately what we did, was that I acknowledged as a small-ish firm, right? We had grown from very small to still, respectable, but still small in regional terms. Um, and I had acknowledged that in order for us to start competing at the level that we wanted to compete at, we wanted to focus on the middle market. We wanted to not only focus on the middle market, we wanted to dominate the middle market. We want to be the best provider of advisory services to small and medium-sized businesses that can't afford the huge consultant and can't afford a full C-suite of people. We want to empower those types of businesses to be successful. And so we knew that we were going to need to dedicate a different level of resources to provide that to that group of people. In order for us to provide that level of domination in terms of services in that market, we needed to also have the best people. We needed to continue to focus on retention. We had been really good at that over the last few years. We have had single-digit organic turnover for many of the last 10 years, which is relatively unheard of in our industry. And we wanted something that continued to empower those types of things. We wanted somebody that was focused on a people-first strategy that was going to allow for us to get the best talent, attract the best talent, retain the best talent. And then we wanted to make sure that we had the right resources to invest in things like technology and AI and utilizing offshoring correctly and building out all of the right tech stacks so that you can streamline your learning and development programs. I mean, there's so much benefit here to being part of a group that still allows you to maintain a really strong bit of independence. So that's the part that I think that there's at least two different models here. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there's even more in terms of why private equity is getting into the space and the firms that they're targeting. But for us, it's going to continue to give a different level of resources to those firms that say, okay, all right, we acknowledge it. We see the future, right? We're a $5 to $20 million firm. We see the future. We know what needs to happen, but we don't know if we can get there on our own. And we need to have the right level of the next generation of leaders to help us get us there. Most of the firms that we merged up with, the reason that they were excited about it was because my partner and I are in our 30s. They
Right.
were salivating at the idea that we were going to help them retire. And then we were supposed to wait to see some financial report until after that.
30 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, no thanks. I've already put in a lot of years in this business, so those folks are in a position where they're having a hard time retaining their rock stars. They're having a hard time retaining their all stars. It's getting easier for people to go out and hang up their own shingle to some degree with some type of empowerment, like a platform like this. So the answer that I have to the firms that we will continue to talk to is, listen, this is the future. It's going to be really difficult to compete with me. If I'm intentional and we're playing in the same sandbox, it's going to be hard for you to compete with this. So let's see if we can work together. Let's see if there's some way that we can share these resources together so that we're not competing against one another. We can compete with, KPMG, PwC, we can compete with those guys, in the middle market space. We're not going to compete with them in their SEC work and all the other crazy things that they get into, but we could play in the right sandbox. And as a result, our clients get a huge benefit because they get a different level of resource. Your clients, potential firm that I'm acquiring, get a tremendous additional benefit to their services, and your employees win. They get better benefits, they get better pay, they get better opportunity, they have better infrastructure in place for them long term. They don't have to worry, do I got to go to the bank and borrow a bunch of money to help retire these CPA firms owners that I don't even know if these clients will stay because they're loyal to the previous generation of CPA firm owners. So it's interesting. There's a lot of really unique moving pieces here,
There's
but
a ton of dynamics going on when you have this conversation. You brought up two things just to talk for a few minutes on, both your clients as well as the talent and employees. And so I know it's April 17th, tax season just wrapped up. You made the announcement in January. I'm sure you've gotten a ton of questions from both sides of it. Anything come top of mind from those conversations, or questions that just continuously came up about the process? You're not part of private equity. Does that mean I don't have access to you anymore? Or
Mhm.
how's that going to impact my rates? Or, am I going to be comfortable staying here, not working for, someone else beyond just yourself? Maybe shed a little bit of light about some of the things you've heard over the last quarter.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question that I've gotten since we made the announcement is, are you staying? Or are you sticking around?
Yeah.
And my answer to those people is absolutely. What,
Yeah.
like, I've dedicated my entire life to this, quite literally. I've been doing this for 16 years, and not like the average human. I've been doing this on a very accelerated path for the last 16 years. I'm not only dedicated to my career personally for myself and my family, but now it's an entirely different monster. As I look at this and I say, look what we've accomplished on our own for the last 16 years. At 37, I got another 10 to 15 years of just absolutely grinding in this market and trying to make a difference. How do I make that the most impactful?
Yeah.
Um, and this allows me to do that. So as long as people have understood, listen, I'm still here. I still manage a handful of accounts. I don't manage as many, clients as I used to, but that was a transition prior to private equity. That was just a transition prior to, I realized that the best use of my time was teaching people how to fish, was teaching people how to be great advisors to their clients. I could only impact so many if I was just being an advisor, but I could make a tremendous, larger impact by teaching them to be better advisors. So, that's been a huge topic externally, from clients, from community stakeholders and things like that, is that, hey, you're not leaving, you're not moving, you're not staying, you're not going to a bigger city or this, that, or the other. I said, no, man, I'm staying right here in Youngstown, Ohio, and we're going to build something special here because everybody said we couldn't.
Well, it's like Gary building the 37th largest firm out of Cleveland, Ohio. We thought
I
it
know.
could be done, right?
I know. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that most of my clients, most of the people that interact with me on a regular basis, I'm pretty transparent about who I am. So they understand that I'm not going anywhere, and that puts people at ease. In regards to the employees, it was really interesting, because I had been talking about this. I had been kind of designing this behind the scenes for a while. And by the time I got to the point where I was ready to announce it to our team, I was really pumped. I was excited.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a huge deal for us. We are being identified as a top firm to get into this early before everybody else is, to take part in something that's truly special and is really kind of built specifically for us. And the announcement kind of fell flat a little bit. And it was just, people were just kind of like, listen,
It fell flat from your perspective.
from my perspective, yeah, it fell
Yeah.
flat a little bit. I looked around the room and it was just kind of like, I expect, I was like, wow, everybody's going to be excited. This is a huge deal. And everybody's kind of looking at each other like, what the hell does this even mean? They're
Yeah.
like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it scary? I realized through this process that, private equity does have, somewhat of a unique reputation, when you start to really ask around,
People make
and
assumptions right away.
well, yeah, and it's just like anything else. There's good cops, there's bad cops, right? There are bad people in every community. There are pretenders. There are people that are just not good at what they do and just throw money at things or force people out or squeeze people on margins and this, that, and the other. And then there's people that fundamentally understand things. And that was something that once people had the time to really look into who is backing Ascend, and the group that is Alpine, and the Graham Weaver's theory on people first, and the amazing people like Aaron Stammer and David Wurzbacher behind the scenes that are running the show at Ascend. They got really comfortable really fast because they saw that this was different. This was not just a quick flip. This was not something that people were, just trying to throw money at it, 4 or 5 exit and walk away in a certain period of time. This has long-term strategies built around it. This has an understanding of some serious problems in our industry that we're going to address and focus on and try to improve. And within weeks, that mentality changed. So once our team really had the time to absorb it, process it, ask questions, I was very transparent. I was an open book. I was like, you guys can literally ask me everything. I'll tell you what I know. I'll also tell you what I don't. And I will continue to share that with you guys along the way. But ultimately, I believe that this is a huge opportunity for us. And we've done our best of just making sure that we are honest with our team members, and we have a very much so open and honest policy within our organization. So as a result of that, people believed me, as they should have. And as they started to see the benefits pile up and the opportunity pile up as a result of it, the excitement has really changed. And now we get into, our first tax season as part of the platform, and didn't have a whole lot of, tremendous involvement from any back office telling us to do X, Y, or Z. We had some little tweaks here or there, but ultimately we had the best tax season we've ever had. We had been building for this. We had been building for efficiency. We had implemented some really cool pieces of technology. And also people's attitudes surrounding everything was different. They started to see things differently. They didn't see us as that little, ornery, progressive, millennial run organization anymore. They saw us as something that could change the game. Still with a little bit of that ornery millennial, representation, but it was
a